Delco supervisors review pipeline concerns 10 years after construction stopped. Stamford adopts budget and bonds to demo burned buildings. Margaretville Central School passes modest budget increase despite rising costs. These are the top headlines this week. Welcome to CatskillsAir. I'm Jessica Murphy, here with your latest local news. Joining me now is Matt Avitable, editor and publisher of the Mountain Eagle and Catskills Chronicle. Glad to have you with us, Matt. Let's get right to the news. Stamford passed a budget up nearly 6% from last year and approved a bond to clean up the two collapsed, burned buildings on Main Street. So Matt, tell us more about those items, as well as other business that was handled by the village board last week.
As you mentioned, budget's up around 5.6%. Part of this includes the cost for building demolition. Stamford has been plagued in the last several years after a number of fires and now a collapse. We wind up seeing about $1 million brought in through expected revenue and $196,000 through unexpended balance. We also have a further discussion coming up about some of the major buildings in Stamford, especially along its Main Street, and what's going to happen to them.
Thanks, Matt. And if you want to know more about the scorched, painted ladies of Stamford, Carolyn Bennett has two detailed articles in the paper this week. The first is a burn history of the Victorian buildings, and the second is an interview with Stamford Mayor Rob Schneider. So be sure to check those out. Facing rising costs while trying to continue to provide a vibrant program, Margaretville Central School has managed to put together a new budget. The increase is only slightly 2% more than last year. So Matt, how'd they pull that one off?
It's actually our lead story of the section this week in the Catskills Chronicle. A little more than $14 million adopted at its April 15th meeting. Ultimately, they were pretty successful. They wound up seeing about a 2% increase over the previous year's budget, but ultimately, this is lower than some of the other increases locally. With that, the capital budget's proposed at a little more than $2 million, an increase of a little less than 4%. They talked about some changes in student transportation costs, the mandate from the state to have electric fleets of buses. They talked about other district spending as well. Overall, the school board did pretty well considering the hard hand they were dealt.
Delaware County supervisors are officially voicing their concerns over the proposed Constitution pipeline. Matt, this one is as complicated as it is long, 125 miles running from Pennsylvania and through 5 New York counties. So summarize their meeting for us, please.
And we've talked about this a bit before. It ends close to where I am up in Schoharie County in the town of Wright. Delaware County is concerned, as are many of the towns up in Schoharie County. They wound up talking about this at the last Delaware County Board of Supervisors meeting. 125 miles is going to run from Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has seen a natural gas boom after introducing hydraulic fracturing. And some are concerned about property rights, potential pollution, potential leaks, and more. Delaware County is adding to that list of those telling the state.
And over in Margaretville, the board was back on the food truck track. So Matt, what laws were they looking at? And also tell us about what's new with the meter fees increase.
Our own Mary Crisafulli followed up on this one. This happened at the April 21st meeting. A public hearing is set for May 19th at 4:45. That's a Tuesday if anyone would like to head. The proposed legislation followed issues that the village has learned from 2025, and board members say that they believe that the law will help protect health, safety, and the welfare of village businesses. This is going to apply to commercial food truck operations, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, similar like farmers markets. They're all exempt. Truck owners will be required to get a 60-day permit from the village, provide proof of insurance, and comply with sales tax laws. And ultimately, trucks cannot park within 150 feet of similar businesses or block driveways.
The plans for the new modern library in Stamford are moving forward. So what's happening there?
When this comes to fruition, it's going to be a major improvement for the community. The current location is wonderful, but ultimately it is too small and it's older. The hope is that this new library at 139 West Main Street will provide more than double the usable space of the current facility. The hope is it'll wind up having more than 6,000 square feet, be energy efficient, and add a lot to West Main Street in Stamford. We have a lot of detail in here. We interviewed Erica Eklund, former Mountain Eagle alum, and currently the director of the library, who gave us a lot of good information about these plans.
And Bovina goes ahead with renting a road roller this coming season, but some residents are resisting. Matt, what are their concerns?
The plan would be to lease a roller with about 50 hours on it for about $4,200 a month. Highway Superintendent Ed Weber would request the use of Consolidated Highway or CHIPS funding to do that. There was further discussion. Councilmember John Saccone talked about repairing the 20-year-old roller. The machine has caused issues. Weber said that this is the reason why there's been a lease agreement. Ultimately, there was further back and forth about whether or not to lease, whether or not to try and get more use out of the existing one, but the council ultimately determined that a lease would be better use of tax dollars.
So Matt, some of us may not know what a road roller does. Do you know?
It's kind of like a little steamroller. Looks like one. Caterpillar is making the one that they're talking about here.
Over in Roxbury, Thomas O'Brien is running for town supervisor on both Democratic and Independent party lines. Can you explain why and give us some of his history?
So I know that it's been only a year since the last election cycle, less than a year, but we're going to have another one due to the changes in the state election cycle. This is going to see Thomas O'Brien seeking the Democratic and the Independent Roxbury Partners lines. His campaign announced that this time it's his first campaign for public office, but he says it's far from the first time of serving the public. More information, including his time at Roxbury Central School, including 12 and a half years as its superintendent, someone that I've known for quite a while. And he's stating that he is hoping to balance community needs, regulations, and responsible budgeting.
The MARC project, based in Arkville, got a big boost from Albany last week. What honor was awarded to the group?
MARC project was honored here by the state for their hard work. Ultimately, Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation announced that they had won the Joan K. Davidson Award for their hard work revitalizing local communities. And in part, they cited the good administration of Peg Ellsworth and so many others that have been involved.
Well, congratulations to Peg and her team. Now, this news broke after the newspaper's deadline. Margaretville and Stamford will get $4.5 million each to spruce up their downtowns. Governor Kathy Hochul said last week that the money is coming from the fourth round of the New York Forward program. Margaretville will use the money to enhance streetscapes, improve accessibility, and other projects as well. The funds for Stamford will restore underused properties, support small business growth, and create inviting public spaces that celebrate the town's heritage and natural beauty. And thanks to a team of ambitious SUNY Delhi students, local Little Leaguers will have a clubhouse on their field of dreams. This is a great article by reporter Liz Page. So how did this come together, Matt?
The Little League has been one of the most successful local institutions, and the Catskill Mountain Little League has done a lot of work. She talked to Colin Miller, who's been the treasurer since 2020, who many in our viewing area know as part of the Vintage Baseball League. So many wound up donating. There's actually quite a list here, and much of it was put together by SUNY Delhi students who proudly wound up putting together the clubhouse that was finished last fall.
Now, Matt, do you think Kevin Costner will show up?
I certainly hope it. They have built it, and I hope that he comes.
Excellent. Me too. Well, switching gears, on the local legal scene, the courts passed sentences on 4 drug convictions. Matt, this Walton man had a car full of meth and drug paraphernalia. How was he caught, and what's the sentence?
District Attorney Sean Smith announced that Joseph Hahn, age 30, of Walton, pleaded guilty to criminal possession of a controlled substance in the 3rd degree, possession of methamphetamine with the intention of selling it on April 13th, and was sentenced to 4 years. There's a lot more details, but this wound up coming after a January traffic stop. And with that, we have photos of the K-9 Dexter, who helped with the search. There were scales, methamphetamine, funnels, plastic packaging, and more, leading to this sentence.
Another Walton man was sentenced last week. He's pled guilty to drug sales.
We've talked about Paul Petrosky before, age 56 of Walton. He wound up pleading guilty to criminal sale of a controlled substance in the 5th degree. April 15th, he appeared before Judge John Hubbard in Delaware County, pleaded guilty to this, which is a Class D felony. This follows a variety of other charges stemming from a December 2024 grand jury indictment.
The Bainbridge woman who was on probation for drugs is now headed to state prison. What did she do?
Taylor Church, aged 39, of Bainbridge, admitted to violating the terms and conditions of her probation sentence and was expelled from the Delaware County Adult Treatment Court Program, and the Honorable Gary Rosa, Delaware County Court Judge, resentenced her to 2.5 years in state prison, followed by a year of post-release supervision.
Also going to state prison is a man arrested in Sydney on multiple drug felonies. Matt, tell us about this case as well.
Jason Gonzalez, age 51, of Lawrence, pleaded guilty to criminal possession of a controlled substance in the third degree. That's a Class B felony, as well as attempted criminal possession of a controlled substance in the third degree, which is a Class C felony, on April 13th. He was sentenced to 5 years in state prison on each charge, to be followed by 2 years of post-release supervision.
New Kingston has cleaner roads thanks to 21 members of a local group. Matt, you have such colorful photos in the paper of this cleanup. How did it go?
The NKVA, or the New Kingston Valley Association, has done so much good work over the years, and they are continuing it. We have a photo of the different volunteers, including Town Supervisor Glenn Faulkner. They wound up doing a lot in cooperation with the Catskill Watershed Corporation, the Town of Middletown Department of Public Works, as well as Annie Pivar and Kev Brewersdorf for hosting the after party. Great photos, and so grateful for everyone who participated.
Meanwhile, in Margaretville, the school is filled with the sound of music, mountain music, that is. Matt, the paper has 2 items on this one with great photos. Tell us about this performance.
Music appreciation wound up being one of the major topics. We have a photo of this great giant bass, similar to the Tom and Jerry one where Tom is singing to the girl cat. Students wound up learning the origins of bluegrass, American folk music, influences Appalachian music, acoustic string instruments, and a whole lot more. If you want to take a look at more detail as well as these photos, it was a great time.
Very cool. And speaking of MCS students, the school's 3rd graders were busy outdoors, not catching trout, but releasing them. So these are really cute pictures, Matt. What's happening?
3rd graders help the environment. We saw a hands-on environmental education program from Mrs. Denise Archer's 3rd grade class at the school. They released 52 fingerling trout into the Delaware County watershed just across the street from the school. If you take a look at the photos, you'll see exactly where they were. I'm really glad that they had an opportunity to do this, and kudos to Mrs. Asher's class.
Also at MCS, art history students dug into some old pottery shards. Matt, a Board of Ed member who is also an anthropologist, spoke with the class. That's pretty cool.
This is a school leveraging its resources. We saw Mark Osterwell bringing in his own experiences, taught local students while also celebrating history, which I really appreciate. Students had just finished studying Art of the Indigenous Americas, and so Dr. Osterweel talked about his time doing research in La Paz, Bolivia, and his time at another archaeological site. He brought in some pottery shards from ancient history and was able to talk to them. We also saw from art teacher Michelle Dietz how much this meant to the students.
Seniors needn't worry about Meals on Wheels. There won't be any changes to meal deliveries in Delaware County this year, but changes are on the horizon. Matt, what will be different?
Costs have played a role here. Delaware Opportunities is no longer going to be delivering these meals. The program operates 6 congregate meal sites, and ultimately, after negotiations, the county determined that the costs were unsustainable, and the County Board of Supervisors and the Office for the Aging decided that they were going to discuss these contract issues and talk about some options. The contract is expiring at the end of this calendar year, at the end of 2026. Starting in 2027, it's going to be administered by the county rather than any outside group.
Also, Delco is holding a free rabies vaccination clinic. Where and when?
These are especially important considering the cases of rabies that we saw last year. This is going to be Monday, May 4th, 5:30 to 7:30 at the Sydney Fire Hall on River Street in Sydney.
Excellent. And there will also be a free climate and health workshop for locals 60 and older. How about the details there?
Here's an opportunity to learn more about how environment can impact your health, some practical steps to reduce these risks, and how to prepare for emergencies. We have a photo of a bug out bag in this week's paper. They're free and open to the public, especially for those 60 years and older. They're going to take place during each senior dining program lunch hour from 11:30 to 12:30, and each participant will receive a free starter emergency preparedness kit as long as supplies last. More details where and when in this week's paper.
The Franklin Improvement Society is hosting a Plants and More sale next month. Matt, we all want to get ready for spring, so tell us more.
May 24th, 10 to 2. That's a Sunday. Funds raised are going to go towards plantings and maintenance at the Franklin Memorial Park and Edible Walking Trail, as well as other Improvement Society projects. The volunteers here have done a wonderful job. You can also donate if you'd like that morning between 8:30 and 10 a.m.
And with spring come the boys of summer. Vintage baseball season is finally here. These games are so fun to watch. What's the schedule?
On March 28th, the Polecat Baseball Club, featuring the Hamden Nine, traveled to Smithtown, New York for matches with the formidable Atlantic Baseball Club, which was founded in Brooklyn in 1855. There's more information, including the May 2nd Bavina Dairyman doubleheader with the Brickmaker Baseball Club of Saugerties. First pitch 2 p.m. and as always, admission is free.
All right, well, for more on these and other articles, pick up the Mountain Eagle or Catskills Chronicle. But Matt, before we let you go, how about a heads up on next week's paper?
Big stories are going to be the grants for Stanford and Margaretville. We're going to work them into separate articles. We're going to be talking about their potential impact. A lot of good work done by the Mark Project. We have the beginning of some of the meetings for May happening that should make it into Friday's paper, and we plan to cover several local baseball games.
All right, well, thanks, and we will see you next week. And now it's time to talk sports. Here's John with the latest plays in local high school baseball.
South Courtright Margaretville has shifted their baseball game into high gear, winning 2 more contests. The first, a 4-0 Delaware League shutout over Wyndham, and the second, a crazy 13-12 non-league squeaker over Edmonston Morris. Garrett Drop continues to dazzle on the pitching hill for the Rams, tossing 5 innings, allowing 2 hits, and striking out 10 in the Wyndham whitewash. In a seesaw affair, the Rams took 9 innings to edge Edmonston Morris, with SK Margaretville scoring a pair of runs in the bottom of the 9th to win it. J.B. Trimble had a huge night offensively, knocking out 3 hits, scoring 3 runs, and amassing 5 RBIs. In other baseball action, Delhi's Lucas Nellis had it all going his way on the pitching mound, spinning a 1-hitter with 4 strikeouts. But Delhi struggled in the batter's box, failing to give Nellis the support he needed, the Bulldogs dropping a 2-1 nail-biter to Mid-Athletic Conference rival Bainbridge Guilford. By an identical score, Tyler Reese was masterful on the pitching mound, firing a 13-strikeout 3-hitter with Deposit Hancock registering a walk-off 2-1 victory over Seton Catholic. In probably no other sport does one person hold as much opportunity to influence the outcome of a game than a softball pitcher. Wyndham's Hannah Tuttle exemplifies that fact. Tuttle fired her way to 2 more dominating victories last week. The first, a 20-strikeout 2-hitter in Wyndham's 11-3 victory over South Courtright Andes. Putting that in perspective, there are 21 outs. She recorded 20 of them by strikeout. Tuttle then completed a 5-inning, 1-hit, 14-strikeout shutout, the Warriors besting Hunter Tannersville 19-0. South Courtright Andes nipped Charlotte Valley Skenevis in a 9-inning softball marathon. Brenly Wright was a difference maker on both sides of the diamond, pitching all 9 innings and striking out 12. In the batter's box, Wright rapped out 3 hits and scored the winning run in a most unusual manner. Wright singled, then stole second, third, and finally home for the winning tally. During the outing, Wright broke the Charlotte Valley pitching strikeout record, fanning her 516th career batter and besting a mark set by Janel in 2016. In other softball action, J.C. O'Donnell smashed a home run, one of her 3 hits to lead Gilboa Roxbury to a 23-8 Delaware League victory over Hunter Tannersville. Addie Haynes earned the victory in the pitching circle for Gilboa Roxbury. That's our local sports report for this week.
Thanks, John. Now let's go to Elizabeth for arts and entertainment.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's Focus on the Arts news spot. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Lots of things. The season has begun for many of our venues around the area. In Hobart, the Hobart Festival of Women Writers. This is 14th year. They're offering a workshop with readings and gathering from June 5th to the 7th. This is going to be a wonderful event. If you've never been to a writing circle, this is a good place to start. Hobart is a wonderful gem of a community, and we want to support the Writers Circle, the Women's Writers Circle. The Franklin Stage Company and its wonderful Chapel Hall. First, July 3rd, A Much Ado About Nothing, a Shakespeare romantic comedy. So this is a wonderful event. Let's get out there and support the beginning season for Franklin Stage Company. Next, Oneida Hammond and Kathleen Green will be having an exhibition at the Mural Art Gallery in Hobart, May 9th to June 2nd. This is definitely something you want to get out to as well. Oneida Hammond is a well-known, loved artist. She has spectacular modernist, impressionistic artwork, which I love. She paints how she feels, and Kathleen Green is an incredible artist with a resume that's longer than I could have time to finish. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. See you soon.
Thanks, Elizabeth. We found even more things to do. All are invited to Margaretville Central School's annual Senior Citizen Spring Dinner Dance. The event is Wednesday, April 29th, beginning at 4 p.m. MCS students and staff will serve dinner while DJ Greg Passarelli spins dance tunes, RSVP required. Join author Tony Musso for a talk on hidden treasures of the Catskills. This is part of the John Burroughs Woodchuck Lodge Wild Saturday program on May 2nd at the Catskill Watershed Corporation in Arkville. Also on Saturday, get your car in tip-top shape for spring. MCS National Honor Society and the Catskill Rec Center host a car wash fundraiser. While the wash is free, a donation of $20 to the CRC is greatly appreciated. So get out there and get your car scrubbed up nice for spring. Fleischmann's historian John Duda travels back in time via postcards and to Grahamsville to talk about them. He'll cover everything postcard related from collecting to preserving, so anyone who appreciates these small cards of local color should attend. Then on May 6th, the Bushel Collective celebrates the Agates, SUNY Delhi's literary and arts magazine. The event features a reading by New York Times bestselling author Sarah Blakely Cartwright. Now for an nature moment. A lone baby bear was found in Oneida County in the middle of a road, causing a traffic jam. New York State Police Sergeant Richard Kosakowski was flagged down, stopped, scooped up the cub, who was brought to Friends of the Feathered and Furry Wildlife Rehab Center. They report that the little guy is healthy, eating like a champ, and dances around his food bowl. We'll bring you updates as he grows, and you can check him out on their Facebook page. Since FFF is a nonprofit, donations are always welcome. Is Sprinter moving into spring? Are April showers bringing May flowers? Please, let's say yes. Let's see what next week's weather looks like.
Good day, Catskill Mountain friends and neighbors. It's Lori with CatskillsAir, bringing you your weekly weather update for the beautiful, pristine, highly wacky weather Catskill Mountain region. And folks, it's wacky everywhere. From record-breaking temperature highs to record-breaking temperatures lows, forest fires, tornadoes, tsunamis, snowstorms. We've got a little bit of everything across the country. And once again, we're still stuck between spring and winter, sprinter, but we are going to warm up to start the week. However, I needed my rose-colored glasses on because the forecast for the end of the month straight through to the middle of May doesn't look very promising as far as temperatures go. But hey, as we all know, that weather changes on a dime. So let's give it a go and check out what's happening in the Catskill High Peaks for this week in weather. On Monday, we can expect mostly sunny skies with a warmer feel to the air. Temps are going to max out in the mid-60s with winds lightly blowing out of the east at 5 to 10. Overnight, we have mostly clear skies, a little crisp feeling to the temps. Temperatures are going to drop back to the upper 30s, low 40s in some areas, winds light and variable. On Tuesday, we have partly cloudy skies in the morning, very windy with an overcast afternoon. Temps are going to remain in the mid-60s. Winds are going to be gusty out of the south-southeast at 10 to 15. Overnight, we have cloudy skies. Temps will dip back to the low 40s. Winds out of the south at 5 to 10. On Wednesday, we have mostly cloudy skies, maybe a glimpse of sunshine. In the afternoon, we have periods of showers. Temperatures are going to rise to the low 60s. Winds are going to be gusty out of the south-southeast at 10 to 15. Overnight, we have rain and cloudy skies. Temperatures are going to dip back to the low 40s. Winds out of the southeast at 5 to 10. Thursday, we have periods of rain, very cool and windy. Temps are only going to max out in the mid-40s. Winds are going to be gusting out of the northwest at 10 to 20. Overnight, we have rain showers early with a mix of rain and snow later in the evening. Temps are going to dip back to the low 30s, freezing mark with winds gusting out of the northwest at 10 to 15. On Friday, we have lots of cloud cover. You may get a glimpse or a peek of the sun. Temps are going to only reach the mid to upper 40s. Winds are going to be gusting out of the northwest at 10 to 20. And overnight, we have mostly cloudy skies. The temps dipping back to the low 30s, frost zone, and winds breezy out of the northwest at 10 to 15. As I bid you farewell, remember that weather and temperature changes on a dime, especially in the beautiful Cats. Be sure to join me for your weekend weather update because I have a feeling it's going to be rather cool and rather crisp, but maybe some sunshine. So see you then from somewhere in the Cats.
That's it for CatskillsAir News. If you see something out there, let us know. I'm Jessica Murphy. Bye for now.